Jennifer didn't know her life was about to shatter in an abandoned auction house between dusty antiques and forgotten dreams, or that it would ignite again in the bedchamber of a wolf king who'd been hunting her scent across lifetimes, and a magic that would make her something she could never unmake. But Jennifer didn't understand, couldn't, because 30 seconds ago she'd been checking security locks in an auction house, drowning in debt and grief, and the kind of bone-deep exhaustion that made you wonder if disappearing might be easier than fighting. And now she was here, naked in a stranger's bed, in a world that shouldn't exist, being claimed by a man with wolf eyes who spoke about fate like it was a prison sentence they'd both just been handed. What she didn't know yet, Thomas had been waiting for her his entire life, that the pack elders had prophesied his mate's arrival for generations, that she was human, powerless, breakable, and the greatest threat to his throne his enemies could have asked for. What she didn't know yet, they would try to destroy her for it. The eviction notice had arrived 3 days ago, $8,200 past due. Her landlord's handwriting slashed across the page like a sentencing, final warning before legal action. 6 months of falling behind, ever since she'd been fired from the diner for missing too many shifts. Missing shifts because she couldn't get out of bed, couldn't stop seeing her mother's empty chair at the kitchen table. Worthless, can't even keep a roof over your head. The voice in her head sounded like her ex, Marcus, whose parting gift had been the scar above her left eyebrow and a restraining order she'd been too ashamed to follow through on. She'd packed what she could carry and left town instead, ran to a city where no one knew her name, where she could disappear. She was checking the back room of Hartwell Estate auctions after closing, doing off-the-books security work for cash under the table, when her flashlight beam caught the mirror. Not unusual, the auction house was packed with estate sale junk, Victorian furniture, oil paintings of dead people, boxes of costume jewelry. But this mirror was different. Ornate gold frame, taller than she was, glass that seemed to shimmer even in the dark, and underneath the dust, something else. Light, faint like moonlight through water. She stepped closer. The air around the mirror felt alive, electric, buzzing against her skin like static before a storm, and beneath it a pull, gentle but absolute, an invisible cord wrapped around her ribs, tugging her forward. Don't. But her hand was already reaching. Her fingers brushed the glass. The auction house vanished. She didn't scream. She'd learned to swallow screams when Marcus had his hands around her throat. But terror exploded through her chest as she fell through impossible space. Colors that burned, air that tasted like copper and ozone, the pull in her ribs dragging her down, 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 until impact. Not floor, something softer, fabric, silk that slid cool against her bare skin. Bare skin. Jennifer's eyes snapped open, heart slamming against her ribs. She was naked, tangled in sheets that felt like liquid gold, in a bed massive enough to sleep 4 people. Stone walls rose around her, lit by firelight that danced shadows across tapestries depicting wolves the size of horses. The air smelled like pine and smoke and something wild, something that made her hindbrain whisper, "Run." And standing at the foot of the bed, perfectly still, was him. He was enormous, 6.5 feet of brutal muscle, wrapped in black leather and fur, dark hair falling to his shoulders, jaw carved from granite. He looks like he'd stepped out of some medieval war painting, all sharp edges and controlled violence, except for his eyes. His eyes were molten gold, not hazel or light brown, but true wolf gold, burning with an intelligence that was absolutely not human. And they were locked on her face with an intensity that made her want to crawl out of her own skin. Those eyes widened, just slightly, like he'd been struck. "Unmöglich," he whispered. "German?" His voice was gravel and smoke. Then in English, careful and low. "You're real." Jennifer scrambled backward, clutching the sheet to her chest, until her shoulders hit the headboard. Her throat closed. Words wouldn't come. He raised both hands slowly, palms out, non-threatening. "Easy. You're safe." He didn't move closer, didn't blink. "I won't hurt you." "Where?" Her voice cracked. She tried again. Where the hell am I? The Northern Citadel. He said it like it should mean something. My private chambers. Her laugh came out jagged, broken. You're what? Who the fuck are you? Something flickered across his face, raw, unguarded, the look of a man seeing something he'd given up hoping for. Thomas Sommer, Alpha King of the Northern Realms. He paused, drew a breath. And you are my fated mate. The room tilted. Jennifer shook her head, nausea rising. No, I'm dreaming. I hit my head in the auction house. You fell through a portal. His voice stayed calm, but there was something under it. Hunger, certainty. I felt you coming. The bond. He pressed a fist to his chest. I felt you for weeks. Your fear, your loneliness. I thought I was losing my mind. You are losing your mind. She scanned the room. One door, reinforced with iron. One window showing a landscape of pine forests and mountains that definitely weren't anywhere near Chicago. And standing between her and both exits was a man who claimed to be a king, who looked at her like she was the only thing in the world that mattered, who had fangs. She could see them now, barely visible when he spoke, sharp, predatory. Let me go, she whispered. I will, but first you need to understand what you are, what you've become by crossing into this realm. His jaw tightened. And why the moment my pack learns you're here, your life will be in more danger than you've ever known. The clothes Thomas gave her were too big. Soft wool tunic, leather pants that had to be cinched with a belt. Her hands shook as she dressed behind a wooden screen, still feeling his eyes burning through the fabric even though he'd turned away. When she emerged, food waited on a low table. Bread, cheese, dried meat that smelled like smoke and herbs. Her stomach twisted with hunger, but she didn't move. Eat, Thomas said quietly. He stood by the window, giving her space. You're in shock. You need answers. Her voice came out harder than she felt. I need answers. He nodded slowly, gestured to the chair. She sat, but didn't touch the food. Portals are rare, he began. Tears between your world and mine, caused by ancient magic tied to specific objects, mirrors, doors, sometimes books. They open randomly, unpredictably. His jaw tightened. Once a decade, if that. The room tilted. So I'm stuck here? For now. For now. Panic cracked through her voice. How long is now? I don't know. He met her eyes, and something in his expression looked almost like guilt. The fated bond. When a wolf meets their destined mate, it's absolute, undeniable. I felt you coming through the portal before you even touched it. That's insane. To you, perhaps. He moved closer, just one step. To my kind, it's survival. Mates make us stronger, complete us. The bond is sacred. I didn't ask for sacred. Jennifer stood, chair scraping back. I want to go home. Before Thomas could answer, the door slammed open. A man entered, older, silver-haired, dressed in dark robes with a wolf insignia embroidered in gold. Behind him, 3 others, all watching Jennifer with eyes that ranged from suspicious to outright hostile. Alpha King, the silver-haired man said coldly. The council demands explanation. You've brought a human into the citadel. Thomas's entire posture shifted, shoulders back, voice dropping into command. Elder Matthias, I didn't summon you. The bond call was felt by every wolf in the northern realms. Matthias's gaze slid to Jennifer like she was diseased. We have a right to see what our king has acquired. Another figure appeared in the doorway, younger than Matthias, maybe mid-30s, with Thomas's same dark hair but a smile that didn't reach his eyes. He looked at Jennifer the way men looked at livestock at auction. So it's true. The great Thomas Sommer's fated mate is a fragile little human. He tilted his head. How disappointing. Stefan. Thomas's voice went lethal. Leave. Stefan's smile widened. Council business, cousin. I have every right to be here. Matthias stepped forward. Alpha King, the council convenes in 1 hour. You will present yourself and this creature for judgment. She is not She is an instability risk. A human cannot survive our world, cannot bear our bloodline, cannot be trusted with realm's secrets. His eyes narrowed. The pack demands you make a choice. Claim her publicly and bind her as queen, or remove the threat. Silence crashed through the room. Jennifer's pulse hammered in her ears. Remove the threat. Thomas's hands curled into fists. I won't let them, he said. But even as he said it, Jennifer heard voices in the corridor outside. Low, urgent. Human cannot stay. Liability to the bloodline. The council will force his hand. She wasn't a guest. She was a problem they were already planning to solve. The council chamber was carved from black stone, lit by torches that cast shadows like claws across the walls. Jennifer stood in the center, flanked by guards whose hands rested on sword hilts. Thomas stood across from her, separated by 20 feet of empty space that might as well have been a chasm. 12 elders sat in a semicircle, elevated on stone seats. Matthias presided, his expression carved from ice. You have brought instability to our realm, a human, weak, powerless, incapable of fulfilling the role of Alpha Queen. Thomas's voice cut through the chamber. She is my fated mate. The bond is sacred. You cannot. You can. Another elder stood, a woman with white braids and eyes like flint. Ancient law is clear, Alpha King. An unclaimed mate who threatens pack stability may be declared spoils of fate. Jennifer's blood went cold. Spoils? Sellable property, said Stefan from his seat near the back, voice dripping false sympathy. To the highest bidder, usually rogue packs seeking leverage. That law hasn't been invoked in 2 centuries. It's barbaric. It's tradition, Matthias interrupted, and it exists precisely for situations like this. You refuse to claim her publicly, refuse to complete the bond, yet you demand we accept her presence as permanent. He leaned forward. Your hesitation proves her unworthiness. I won't force her. Thomas's hand slammed the stone barrier before him. The bond requires choice. Then she chooses exile or sale. Those are her options. Jennifer found her voice. I choose to go home. Impossible. Matthias didn't even look at her. The portal is closed. You are bound to this realm now, marked by the bond whether you accept it or not. Every predator within 100 miles can scent the Alpha King's unclaimed mate. His smile was cruel. You wouldn't last a day alone. Then I'll take that risk. The council votes, Matthias announced, all in favor of declaring Jennifer Smith's spoils of fate eligible for auction under ancient law. Hands rose. 1, 3, 7. Stefan raised his slowly, eyes locked at Thomas. For the good of the realm, he said smoothly. 10 votes. Thomas lunged forward. You have no right. We have every right. Matthias stood. The law is invoked. The human will be processed and auctioned within 3 days. He gestured sharply. Remove her. Guards moved before Jennifer could react. Hands clamped around her arms. Iron strong, bruising. She struggled, gasping, but they were wolves and she was nothing. Thomas! Her name tore from her throat. He was already moving, eyes blazing gold, shifting. Restrain the Alpha King, Matthias commanded. More guards flooded the chamber. They didn't draw weapons. They didn't need to. 6 wolves slammed into Thomas, forcing him back, pinning him against the stone wall. He roared, the sound inhuman, shaking the torches. I will burn this citadel to ash. You will do nothing, Matthias said coldly, or you declare you unfit to rule and remove you both. Jennifer screamed as metal clamped around her wrists. Chains, cold iron that burned like ice. They dragged her backward, boots scraping stone, towards the chamber doors. Thomas's eyes met hers, wild, desperate. I will come for you, he swore, voice breaking. Jennifer, I swear. The doors slammed shut. She was hauled down a corridor, down stone steps that spiraled into darkness. The air grew colder, damper. She smelled earth and rot, and something rotten underneath. Underground. They were taking her underground. And above, locked behind council chamber doors, the Alpha King, who'd sworn to protect her, could do nothing but howl her name into the dark. The holding cell was carved from wet stone, lit by a single torch that flickered shadows across iron bars. Jennifer sat in the corner, chains biting her wrists, breath coming in shallow gasps. She wasn't alone. 3 other women huddled in the adjacent cells, 2 human, 1 with pointed ears and silver hair. All chained, all hollow-eyed. "First time?" the silver-haired one whispered. Jennifer nodded, throat too tight to speak. "They'll bid on your bloodline potential," the woman continued flatly. "Humans who survive the crossing sometimes carry latent magic. Makes you valuable." She laughed, broken. "Try not to faint. It excites them." Hours later, maybe days, time had no meaning down here. Guards came. They hauled Jennifer up stone steps, through corridors that smelled like sweat and old blood, into a massive chamber packed with bodies. Wolves. Hundreds of them, eyes glowing in the firelight, watching her like starving dogs watching meat. A platform stood in the center, an auction block. They shoved her onto it. The chains forced her arms above her head, locked to a post. Her legs shook so badly she could barely stand. The crowd pressed closer, voices rising. "Look at her!" Unmarked, the Alpha King didn't complete the bond. Weak, but the scent. She crossed through a portal. That's rare magic. An auctioneer stepped forward, a massive wolf with scars across his throat. "We begin at 5,000 gold. Bidders, present your offers for the unclaimed mate of the Northern King." Hands shot up. 6,000. 8. 10,000. She'll bear strong pups, even if human. Jennifer's vision blurred. The room spun. She tasted bile. In the back, leaning against a pillar, Stefan watched with a smile that made her skin crawl. 15,000! Someone roared. The auctioneer raised his hand. 15,000 from the Eastern Ridge Pack. Going once? The doors exploded. Wood splintered. Stone cracked. Wolves poured through the opening. Warriors in black leather, swords drawn, eyes blazing gold. And at the front, moving like death itself, Thomas. His eyes found hers across the chaos. Something in his expression broke, then reformed into pure, lethal rage. "No one touches her," he snarled. The auction hall erupted. Wolves collided, blades flashed, blood sprayed across stone. Jennifer screamed as the platform shook, chains rattling. Thomas cut through the crowd like a hurricane, claws extending, teeth bared, tearing through anyone stupid enough to stand between him and the platform. He reached her in seconds. One slash severed the chains. She collapsed forward. He caught her, arms locking around her waist. "I've got you," he breathed against her hair. "I've got you." "Thomas!" "Hold on." He lifted her, turning toward the shattered doors. His warriors formed a barrier, fighting back the tide of rival wolves trying to reclaim their prize. "Traitor!" someone screamed. "You've declared war on the council!" "Then let it be war!" Thomas roared back. They ran. Through corridors, upstairs, out into cold night air that tasted like freedom. Horses waited, massive beasts with eyes that glowed faintly gold. Thomas lifted Jennifer onto one, swung up behind her, arms caging her against his chest. "Ride," he commanded. The warriors followed, hooves pounded earth. Behind them, the auction hall burned, flames licking toward the sky. Jennifer twisted in the saddle, looking back at the citadel. Smoke, fire, wolves gathering at the gates. An army. "They'll come for us," she whispered. Thomas's arms tightened. His voice was low, certain, absolutely unyielding. "Let them come." They rode for hours before stopping at a safe house deep in the northern woods, a stone fortress hidden among pines. Thomas carried Jennifer inside, set her down gently, then immediately began pacing like a caged animal. They'll invoke blood law. The council will demand. A horn blast shattered the night. Thomas froze. His warriors rushed to the windows. Riders approaching, bearing council banners. Let them come. The doors opened. Matthias entered, flanked by guards, and Stefan, whose smile was poison sweet. Thomas Sommer, you have committed treason, defied the council, slaughtered wolves under ancient law's protection. He paused. The penalty is death, or trial by combat. Thomas's jaw clenched. Then I choose combat. Expected, Stefan stepped forward, eyes gleaming, which is why I invoke Alpha's right. Ancient law permits any blood relative to challenge for the throne when the current king is deemed unfit. His smile widened. I challenge you, cousin, at dawn, for the crown and for her. Jennifer's breath caught. No! Accepted, Thomas snarled. Thomas, don't! He didn't look at her, didn't break eye contact with Stefan. Dawn, the old dueling grounds. Matthias nodded. Witnessed and bound. May the strongest wolf claim the throne. He turned, robes sweeping. Prepare yourselves. The council left. Stefan lingered in the doorway. I'll try to make it quick, he said softly. Then his eyes slid to Jennifer. Don't worry, I'll take excellent care of your mate's property after he's dead. The door slammed. Jennifer rounded on Thomas. You can't fight him. This is exactly what he wants. I don't have a choice. Thomas finally met her eyes, and the exhaustion there nearly broke her. If I refuse, the council executes us both. This way, at least one of us survives. You think you'll lose? I think Stefan doesn't challenge unless he's certain he'll win. Hours passed. Thomas's warriors prepared weapons, armor. Jennifer sat useless in the corner, her hands still shaking from the chains. A servant brought wine. Thomas drank without thinking, one long swallow, then froze. His hand trembled, the goblet clattered to the floor. Thomas? Jennifer stood. What's wrong? He staggered, catching himself against the table. His skin had gone pale, sweat beading his forehead. The wine, he rasped. Something in the... His legs buckled. Jennifer lunged forward, catching him as he collapsed. His weight drove them both to the floor. His eyes, those burning gold eyes, had gone dull, unfocused. Help! She screamed. Help! Warriors rushed in. One grabbed the fallen goblet, sniffed, then went white. Wolfsbane, enough to kill an alpha twice over. No. Jennifer cradled Thomas's head, his skin burning fever-hot beneath her hands. No, no. Thomas's eyes found hers, struggling to focus. Jennifer, he whispered. Run. Then his eyes rolled back, and he went limp in her arms. The healer worked through the night, forcing herbs down Thomas's throat, muttering prayers in a language Jennifer didn't understand. But the wolfsbane had taken root. His breathing grew shallow, his skin gray. He'll die before dawn, the healer finally whispered. No, Jennifer's voice broke. There has to be something. Only the mate bond can purge poison this deep, but he's too weak to complete it. And you, the healer's eyes held pity, you're human. The transformation would kill you both. As dawn broke, the warriors came. The duel cannot be postponed, one said grimly. Ancient law demands it proceed, even if the alpha cannot stand. That's murder. That's tradition. They lifted Thomas, unconscious, burning with fever, and carried him out. Jennifer tried to follow, but hands caught her arms. You can't, a warrior said gently. Humans aren't permitted in the dueling grounds. Let me go! They locked her in an upper chamber, barred the door. She screamed, threw herself against the wood until her shoulder ached. Then she saw it, the window. Narrow, but possible. Jennifer climbed through, dropped 10 feet to the ground, and ran. The dueling grounds lay a mile north, a stone arena carved into the mountainside. She heard the crowd before she saw it. Hundreds of wolves circling the pit, voices rising and bloodthirsty chants. She shoved through the crowd, elbowing past bodies twice her size. And then she saw him. Thomas stood in the center of the arena, barely. His legs shook, sweat poured down his face. He'd managed to shift halfway, claws extended, eyes flickering between gold and human brown. But the wolf wouldn't come fully. The poison held him trapped between forms. Across from him, Stefan circled, fully shifted, massive, a wolf the size of a horse, with midnight fur and eyes that promised death. "Yield, cousin," Stefan's voice rumbled, still human despite the wolf form. "I'll make it quick." Thomas snarled, lunged. Stefan sidestepped easily, slammed into Thomas with his full weight. Bones cracked. Thomas hit the ground hard, gasping. The crowd roared. "Get up!" someone screamed. "The king is finished!" Thomas struggled to rise, made it to his knees. Stefan's jaws closed around his shoulder. Not killing, not yet. Playing. Blood sprayed across stone. Jennifer couldn't breathe, couldn't think. She broke through the final line of spectators, stumbled to the arena's edge. "Thomas!" His head turned, their eyes met. For one moment, the pain in his expression shifted, became something else. Regret. "I'm sorry," his eyes said. "I tried." Stefan released him, circled, positioned himself for the killing blow, jaws aimed at Thomas's throat. "No!" Jennifer didn't think, didn't plan. She jumped, vaulted over the barrier, landed hard in the arena, and threw herself between them. The crowd went silent. Stefan's eyes, burning red now, fixed on her. His lips pulled back, revealing teeth like daggers. "Foolish human," he growled. Behind her, Thomas choked out a single word. "Run!" But Jennifer stood her ground, arms spread wide, shielding Thomas's broken body. Stefan's muscles coiled, and he lunged. Stefan's jaws closed on empty air. Jennifer rolled sideways, pure instinct, grabbed something from the blood-soaked ground, a broken blade, discarded from some earlier fight. Stefan pivoted, snarling, lunging again. She drove the blade upward. It sank into his shoulder, not deep, not fatal, but enough. He howled, stumbling back. And Thomas moved. The wolf finally came, exploded through his skin in a blast of golden light, massive, barely controlled, fueled by pure desperation. He slammed into Stefan with the force of an avalanche. They collided, teeth tearing, claws ripping. Thomas's jaws found Stefan's throat. One twist, crack. Stefan's body hit the ground and didn't rise. The crowd erupted, half cheering, half screaming in outrage. But Jennifer only saw Thomas. He shifted back to human, collapsing beside Stefan's corpse. Blood poured from dozen wounds. His eyes already fading, the gold dimming to brown, then gray. "No!" Jennifer crawled to him, pressed her hands against his chest. "No, you won! You won!" "The poison!" Matthias's voice cut through the chaos. He stood at the arena's edge, expression unreadable. "It's reached his heart. Minutes, perhaps less." "Then heal him!" "We cannot." The white-braided elder appeared beside Matthias. "Only one cure exists for wolfsbane in an alpha's bloodstream." "What?" "The completion of the mate bond." Her eyes locked on Jennifer. "You must mark him, claim him, accept the bond fully." Her voice was ice. "It will strip your humanity, make you wolf. You will never return to your world, never be human again." She tilted her head. "And if his heart stops before the bond completes, you both die." Thomas's hand found Jennifer's, weak, trembling. "Don't," he rasped. "Don't sacrifice yourself for me."
She looked down at him, this man, this king, who'd defied his entire council for her, who'd stormed an auction hall, who'd fought poisoned and dying rather than let his cousin touch her, who looked at her like she was worth burning the world for. Jennifer had spent her whole life running, from debt, from Marcus, from grief, from a world that called her worthless. Maybe it was time to choose something instead. "I'm done running," she whispered. She leaned down, ignored the gasps from the crowd, and pressed her lips to the pulse point on Thomas's throat. His eyes widened. "Jennifer!" "You said the bond requires choice." Her voice shook. "This is mine." She bit down, not hard, just enough to break skin. Thomas gasped. Light exploded between them, golden, blinding, alive. It poured from the bite mark, spreading across his chest, racing through his veins like liquid fire. Jennifer felt it too, burning, changing, rewriting every cell in her body. Pain like she'd never known. And underneath it, power. The bond roared to life. She felt Thomas's heartbeat sync with hers, felt his pain become hers, felt the poison scream as the magic tore it apart. Thomas arched off the ground, gasping, his eyes blazing pure gold. The light grew brighter, brighter. The entire arena shook. And then, silence.
When the light faded, Jennifer's hands were no longer shaking. They were clawed. She stared at them, her fingers tipped with razor-sharp points that gleamed like polished bone. Her skin felt different, stronger. Heat radiated from her chest where the bond pulsed like a second heartbeat. Beneath her, Thomas breathed, steady, strong. The poison was gone. His wounds were closing, flesh knitting together, scars fading. His eyes opened, blazing gold, and locked on her face. "Jennifer," he whispered. Awe, relief, something deeper she couldn't name. Around them, the arena had gone utterly silent. Jennifer looked up. Hundreds of wolves stared back, and slowly, one by one, they knelt. Matthias was the first, the white-braided elder followed, then the warriors, the council members, even those who'd voted to auction her. All of them, heads bowed, eyes averted in submission. "Alpha Queen," Matthias said, voice carrying across the stone, "born of the bond, accepted by the magic, witnessed by the pack." Thomas sat up, pulled Jennifer against his chest. His hand cupped her face, thumb brushing her cheek. "You gave up everything," he said hoarsely. "I chose you." Her voice came out different, deeper, stronger. The wolf inside her stirred, unfamiliar but not unwelcome. That's not giving up. That's finally choosing something that matters. He kissed her then, fierce, claiming. The crowd erupted in howls, not of protest, but of celebration. When they finally broke apart, Thomas stood, pulling Jennifer to her feet. He removed the silver crown from his own head, ancient, heavy, inscribed with runes that glowed faintly in the firelight, and placed it on hers. "My queen," he said, loud enough for every wolf to hear. "My mate, my equal." The howls became deafening. Jennifer should have felt terrified, out of place, wrong. Instead, she felt home. Thomas's hand found hers, fingers intertwining. "Ready?" he asked quietly. She looked at the crowd, at the wolves who'd tried to destroy her, at the arena still stained with Stefan's blood, at the man who'd defied his entire world to save her. Jennifer squeezed his hand. "Let's make sure they never forget me." The pack parted as Jennifer and Thomas walked from the arena, still covered in blood. Stefan's, Thomas's, hers. The bond pulsed between them with every step, a living thread that hummed with power she was still learning to control. Her legs felt different, stronger, each movement precise, controlled, like her body had been rebuilt from the inside out. The wolf stirred beneath her skin, not foreign, but hers, waiting. They climbed the stone steps to the citadel. Wolves lined the path, heads bowed, fists pressed to their chests in salute. "Alpha Queen," they murmured as she passed. "Alpha Queen." The words should have felt impossible. A week ago, she'd been nobody, a ghost drowning in debt and shame.
Now she wore a crown that burned with ancient magic. The throne hall doors stood open, massive oak reinforced with iron, carved with wolves mid-hunt. Thomas squeezed her hand once, then released it. "This part," he said quietly, "you walk alone." Her breath caught. "Thomas? You earned this." His eyes blazed gold. "Not as my mate, as you. They need to see that." Jennifer looked at the doorway. Beyond it, the entire pack waited. Hundreds of wolves, the council, warriors who'd fought beside Thomas, elders who'd tried to sell her. All of them waiting to see if she'd break. She straightened her shoulders, felt the crown's weight settle, felt the wolf growl in agreement, and she walked. The throne hall fell silent as she entered. Every eye tracked her movement down the center aisle, past tapestries of ancient kings, past weapons of legendary battles, toward the twin thrones carved from black stone at the far end. She'd never felt more exposed, or more powerful. Matthias stood before the thrones, holding a ceremonial blade. His expression was unreadable, but he knelt as she approached. "By ancient law, the mate bond has been witnessed and accepted, the transformation completed. The magic has spoken." He looked up at Jennifer. "Do you accept the crown, the responsibility, the weight of this realm?" Jennifer thought of the mirror, the portal that had swallowed her whole. She thought of the auction block, chains biting her wrists, Stefan's eyes promising violation. She thought of Thomas, dying from poison, still telling her to run. She thought of the bite, the choice, the fire that had burned away everything she had been and forged her into something new. "I accept," she said. Her voice didn't shake. The pack roared. Matthias rose, stepped aside. Thomas appeared at the edge of her vision, not guiding, not leading, just there, steady. Jennifer climbed the steps, turned, faced the hundreds of wolves who'd weeks ago would have let her die, and she sat. The throne was cold, ancient, built for kings who'd ruled for centuries. It fit her perfectly. Thomas took his place beside her, not above, not ahead, beside, equal. He leaned close, voice low enough only she could hear. "How does it feel?" Jennifer looked out at the pack, at Matthias who'd tried to sell her, at the warriors who'd locked her away, at the wolves now chanting her name with the same fervor they'd once bid on her body. She felt the bond thrumming between her and Thomas, felt the wolf prowling beneath her skin, felt power she'd never imagined singing through her veins. She thought of debt collectors, of Marcus's fists, of her mother's empty chair, of a life spent believing she was worthless. "Like I finally matter," she whispered. Thomas's hand found hers, fingers intertwining. The bond flared, warm, unbreakable. Outside, wolves began to howl. The sound built, rising through the citadel, spilling out into the northern forests, a song of acceptance, of welcome, of a queen who'd been forged in fire and claimed her crown with teeth. Jennifer had fallen through a portal expecting to shatter. Instead, she'd been reborn. Her fall became her throne, her chains became her power, and the Wolf King who'd waited lifetimes sat beside her not as her master, but as her equal, her partner, her choice. She squeezed Thomas's hand, smiled at the pack that had tried to break her, and let the wolf inside her howl. The sound tore from her throat, raw, primal, and triumphant, not human, not afraid. "Alpha." The pack answered, hundreds of voices joining hers, shaking the stone walls, announcing to every corner of the realm, the Northern Territories had a queen, and she would never kneel again. The end.